The Bundesliga may not look like a particularly democratic competition at first glance. Bayern Munich win it every year and tend to gobble up most of the top talent developed by their rivals. But the 50+1 rule, which gives fans a controlling stake in their clubs, has become the envy of diehard supporters in other countries, in particular in England, where there is a sense that billionaire owners have gained too much power in the game, a feeling exacerbated by the Super League fiasco. In reaction to the subsequent backlash, the UK government has brought forward a review into the football industry, led by the fans and focusing on ownership, finance and the role of supporters in the game. By extension, the 50+1 ownership model will be looked at, giving hope to those who want a say in how their clubs are run in the future. But how does 50+1 work in practice? Is it all that it's cracked up to be, and would it work in the Premier League? Let's find out. So what exactly is 50+1? Before 1998, German football clubs were owned exclusively by members' associations and were run as not-for-profit organisations, meaning private ownership was banned full stop. That year, the country's football association ruled that clubs could become public or private limited companies, but that these clubs would need to hold majority voting rights in order to compete in the top two tiers of German football. This was branded the 50+1 rule, illustrating that members needed to own 50% of club shares, plus at least one additional share, in order to retain power and protect their clubs from the potential perils of external influence. There are of course some notable exceptions. Wolfsburg, who were set up in 1945 by Volkswagen, the car manufacturer around which the city of Wolfsburg was built, and Bayer Leverkusen, who were founded in 1904 by the employees of local pharmaceutical company Bayer. As the Bundesliga states, investors who have had an interest in a club for more than 20 years can apply for an exemption from the 50+1 rule, which is also the reason why billionaire software developer Dietmar Hopp was allowed to become the majority shareholder at Hoffenheim in 2015, having been involved with the club since the 90s. Many also regard RB Leipzig as an exception, and we'll get onto them later in the video. So what are the advantages to 50+1? The most obvious one is that it gives fans a greater say in how their club is run, and with this they've been able to successfully bargain for things like ticket prices. In 2019-20, the only clubs to sell their cheapest season tickets at over €200 were Borussia Dortmund and Paderborn, with Bayern Munich and Wolfsburg both offering ones at €145. That's less than the cost of a season ticket at many English non-league clubs, let alone in the Premier League, where in 1920 Arsenal fans had to pay at least £891 to attend for the season, while Spurs charged a minimum of £795. This is even more stark when you consider that in Germany, the average monthly wage stands at €2,439, compared to €2,288 in the UK, meaning that Premier League fans are likely to be a bit poorer than their Bundesliga counterparts even before they've shelled out 5 or 6 times more on a season ticket. It also means that the number of young fans who are more likely to earn less has been decreasing rapidly in England over the years. In 2008, the average age of a supporter in the Stretford End at Old Trafford was over 40, up from 17 in 1968. Between 2002 and 2012, the average age of fans at St James's Park went from 35 to 45. Around the same time, a study in Germany found that members of supporters clubs were mostly aged between 21 and 30, something which is further facilitated by safe standing, which was implemented in the 90s following a campaign from Werder Bremen supporters. Standing tickets are priced as low as €15.20 for a single game in the Bulli. The power fans hold in Germany means that in the last few years, they've been able to successfully campaign against Monday Night Football, fire down proposed changes to the 50+1 rule, and speak out collectively on issues such as racism, sexism, and homophobia. And when it came to the Super League, there wasn't a chance any club was going to sign up, such is the political landscape of German football. Compared with England, where match-going supporters are usually ignored by the rich owners who dominate the game, success stories like this are almost unimaginable. And even when English supporters are listened to, for example when Liverpool fans successfully protested the proposed £77 matchday ticket in 2016, there is never a guarantee they will be consulted on such issues. As Borussia Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke said, most clubs won't get a Roman Abramovich. Most of the investors want to earn money, and where do they get that from? The spectators. So while there may be a chance your club will be made more successful by an outside investor, like with Chelsea or Man City, there's equally a chance it will fall into the hands of a bad owner who cannot be ousted, like at Newcastle, where Mike Ashley remains despite over a decade of fierce opposition to him in the stands, or at Bury, where financial mismanagement by successive owners eventually saw them expelled from the Football League altogether. The 50+1 rule would largely prevent these kind of situations from happening. But it isn't the answer to all of football's problems, and neither is it universally adored. Former Hanover president Martin Kind is a long-standing critic of the 50+1 rule, which prevented him from taking full control of the club and tried on more than one occasion to have it changed. He feels that the rule only serves to entrench the elite clubs, cutting off smaller sides from the potential success that comes with big investment. And a quick look at the Bundesliga in recent years does back this up. Bavarian giants Bayern Munich are set to win their 9th consecutive Bundesliga title this year, with Borussia Dortmund the only other side to have won it since 2009. And despite being the second biggest team in the country by most accounts, BVB remains fundamentally a selling club. And despite overseeing an era of unprecedented domestic dominance, Bayern CEO Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has also voiced opposition to 50+1, which he sees as holding German clubs back in Europe. The only club other than Bayern to have won the Champions League is Borussia Dortmund, and that was back in 1997, the same year that Schalke won the UEFA Cup, which marked the last time a German club lifted that trophy. The last Bully side to so much as reach the final of Europe's secondary competition was Werder Bremen back in 2009. As Rummenigge said in 2018, everyone is worried and fearful that we will lose competitiveness if we open up the market, but the opposite is true. Germany would benefit from it. Loopholes in the system have also meant that RB Leipzig, one of the most corporate clubs in Europe, have been able to freely contest the Bundesliga by enacting a very loose interpretation of the rule. Only 17 members hogged voting rights, most of whom are directly linked to Red Bull, with even a €1,000 a year membership fee not granting others the same privilege, with the club effectively run as the flagship franchise of the energy drink conglomerate's global football network. And despite the fierce opposition to Red Bull by almost all Bundesliga fan groups, Leipzig have been able to pull away from a number of the Bundesliga's biggest clubs as a result, with historic outfits like Schalke, Hamburg and Werder Bremen all struggling in recent years. And herein lies another pinch of salt. 50+1 does not equal stability. Just ask fans of Schalke, who are currently saddled with €217 million of debt and have suffered a first relegation since 1988. But now we know the pros and cons, the question is, would it actually work in the Premier League? The Football Supporters Association are certainly keen to try following the Super League fiasco, calling for the English football authorities to adopt measures which stop the situation ever developing again, and for the implementation of something akin to Germany's 50+1 rule. Meanwhile, the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, has suggested a variation on the rule, which in his words would require all English football clubs to secure the approval of 51% of registered season ticket holders before making fundamental changes to a club's identity or future, protecting against another crisis like the Super League or a calamity like Cardiff City's kit and badge change in 2012. But while the UK government acted fast to condemn the Super League, implementing such a radical change to the nature of football club ownership seems far-fetched, even if they have the power to do so. Protecting the Premier League from a breakaway competition is undoubtedly in the national interest. The English top flight supports almost 100,000 full-time jobs, generates £3.3 billion a year in tax, and contributes £7.2 billion to Britain's GDP. But implementing an ownership model which deters billionaire investment, while most certainly is in the interest of match-going fans, probably wouldn't be good for the Prem as a business. 50+1 with its cheaper tickets and democratic system would certainly revitalise English football in many ways, but it would also see a number of clubs become poorer. The likes of Man United and Arsenal, who already have a huge standing in the world, would stand to benefit, but sides like Brighton, Everton and Leicester, who are still very much building their global fan bases and rely heavily on investment from their owners, would lose out. Of course, there is the chance that such owners would accept a minority stake in their clubs, but it's unlikely that they would hand over so much control of a project they have poured so much of their own money into. While Germany's football culture has always been defined by the power of fans, with a professional national league not even established until the 1960s, the sport has always been seen as more of a business in the UK, with rich club owners bankrolling sides to glory throughout the 20th century, and with a liberal approach to foreign investment seeing the Premier League's wealth grow exponentially since the 1990s. More regulation, safe standing and giving fans a bigger say in how their clubs are run are all achievable aims, but fully implementing 50+1 would spark the biggest change to how English football is run in the sport's history. Right now, it seems a step too far for a competition which has built its success on being the richest of them all. So that was our take on the 50+1 rule and whether it would work in the Premier League. But what do you make of it? Do you have a different opinion? Let us know in the comments below and we'll do our best to reply. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and of course subscribe to EFD if you haven't done so already. And why not stick around by clicking on screen right now and checking out the rest of our Explain series. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.